and welcome back to Up and Coming on Rogers.
We're being really good.
Well,
Usually
yeah, we
not so
are.
good.
Yeah, well, it's early. Maybe
We're
that's
trying to be
what it
official
is.
or something. I don't know.
Maybe that's what it is.
Anyway.
But
we're going to make our
anyway.
next guest
Yes.
crazy anyway, because that's how we are.
So we're going to do something we haven't done before, but we're going to devote some extra time to this because this guest and this whole story is so compelling that you are just going to be glued to your couch. So get
with
comfortable.
your wine and your tea.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And first we want to welcome Nicole Moore. Nicole, thanks for coming.
I think there should be applause or something.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay.
There you go. And with Nicole is Peter Jennings.
Yay!
Tammy and Catherine,
Thanks for coming.
Thanks
for coming. We'd love to have you. So,
am I holding up?
in a minute.
Okay.
That'll come.
You know, that's my favorite part.
But I thought, because I first heard Nicole's story, I guess shortly after it happened.
Yes. I think everybody did.
And was sort of brought into it by friends of yours from the community.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've seen you speak before locally at some different functions and was just so taken by the story. And I thought, best way to start out is maybe just let you roll and start talking about what happened. Where it happened, what happened that day.
Do you
And
remember
then-
this at all?
I remember. I think I remember some details.
And then I'm holding it up.
Yeah, in a bit.
Yeah, it's
She wants a part.
Yeah.
The Battle White
part.
part.
I do. All right.
It was January 11th or January 31st, 2011. Wow. And I was on vacation with some people that you know. It was a girls' trip for a 50th birthday party in Cancun, Mexico. About halfway through the trip, having just a fantastic holiday, I decided to go into the water to rinse off some sand. I was playing beach volleyball and I thought, I'm done, I'm going to go into the ocean. And as I'm rinsing off the sand, these guys on jet skis are yelling at me. I'm only waist deep in water. I'm not very far into the water. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you yelling at me? Because there's lots of ocean. I'm not in your way. But I realized how serious that they were, yelling something at me. I said, all right, turned around and started to walk back into shore. As I was walking back into shore, I felt a bump under the water and just that sinking feeling. Tammy, you were saying that you saw Jaws once. And as soon as you saw Jaws, it was just that apprehension. We all have that when we go in water and we touch something. It makes us cringe. Well, it was just this sinking feeling and looking around. Please let that be a snorkeler that I just bumped into. But unfortunately, seconds later, I sustained my first shark bite, which was to my left upper thigh. It just ripped right through my leg, like it was going through butter, is what I say. And I didn't know what it was. I never saw it. I never saw this big fin or this shark under the water, but as the ocean started to fill bright red with my blood, I knew immediately what had happened. And all I was thinking was, I need to get out of this water. So I kept trying to make my way to shore. And the shark came back and it attacked my arm. It swallowed my entire arm in its mouth, so its eyes are up here and its bottom jaw is here, and it's just thrashing, trying to take me down. Because again, I'm in shallow water, so it's out of the water half of it. Quite the fight that I had. Probably sustained more damage than I needed to with this fight. But my instinct just kicked in at that point. Then I'm watching the shark, and being a scuba diver, we're taught eyes, nose, gills are the sensitive areas of shark, and instinct kicked in, and I hit it in its nose and pulled my arm out. As Peter likes to joke, yeah, of course, wouldn't we all do that?
Really? I don't think so.
But it let go. It let go, and I was trying to make my way to the shore, scared to death. Everyone asks, did you have a lot of pain? And the answer is no, I don't recall. Complete shock.
Yeah. Well, you're losing all this blood, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you only have so much.
Yeah. By the time I was able to get to the shore, which was because someone on the jet skis, one of those guys that were warning me, was able to get to me, I had lost about 60% of my blood on that beach that day.
Yeah, easy.
Very, very rare to survive. I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Once on that shore, became a whole other battle. Someone dragged me up the shore, and I'm face down into the sand, and someone flipped me over. And once my eyes started to adjust, all I see is people looking at me like you two are looking at me like this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, me being a nurse, so I kind of sit up to take assessment of my own wounds, and I saw what I was dealing with and immediately got queasy and laid back down and told the people around me, you need to help. And immediately people started to, kick into gear, and towels were going, and tourniquets were going, and
Yeah, they'd be in shock too. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, for sure.
Anyways, I was eventually EMS was able to get to me, and I was eventually brought to the Mexican hospital, which is a whole story in itself. About survival in the hospital there and infection. But to sum that whole experience up, because eventually I started to get concerned with my care in Mexico, that I had used my voice and demanded that I get seen and demanded that I come home. So 5 days later I came home to Sunnybrook Hospital, and the doctors opened up my wounds. And this is the first time that I had seen my bandage being changed. There was never, for 5 days, a bandage being changed. And the stuff that was coming out of this bandage was just gross. And I'm looking at it from a nursing perspective going, ugh. And then my poor surgeon opens up the bandage on my arm. I hadn't lost my arm. It was still attached at the time. And her face just changed. And immediately brought me stat to the OR. And started this life-saving operation. And she had told me when she woke up, or when I had woke up from the surgery, I don't know how you're alive. You're that sick. But if you had arrived 24 to 48 hours later, you wouldn't be here. And the only reason I was here was through my own connections. We were able to secure, through friends and family, a physician and a surgical team. So I'm very, very, very lucky on many, many levels to be here.
Yeah. So I think that's your positive part.
That is.
And that's very, very hard to get through all of that fog and realize that you have to bring some positivity somewhere
I
to survive.
Thrive on positivity.
Yeah.
It's such a huge part of who I am. Throughout this entire ordeal, I was just so happy with the gift of life that everything rarely brought me down. Like I've just kept on going and going, and I have managed to always have a smile on my face and always bring positivity to my children and my family and my friends if I can. And I draw a lot from other people too.
Well, your friends, just going back to that moment when they realized, because I'm sure they were around the beach as well too, and then all of a sudden started to see this unfold, they must have been beside themselves to see this happen.
Fortunately, they decided to go shopping that day.
So they weren't even there to...
Gosh.
There was one of them that was off at the pool that decided to stay by the pool, so she never saw it. And I had a scuba diving trip planned that afternoon. That's why I cut out of my volleyball game and went into the water to rinse off. And he had come back, because he was going scuba diving with me. He had come back a little early, and he was the one that saw me going through the hotel and realized it was me. And that was traumatizing to him. But,
I bet.
But very fortunately, none of them were around to witness it. Those are
that is
big
fortunate.
bonuses.
That is bonuses.
Yeah, that my children weren't there, my husband wasn't there, and most of my friends weren't there. It was a good thing.
Did you actually, well, you must have seen the shark when you started hitting it to get it off your arm.
Yes, I did.
How big was it?
Like
I'm sure
this
it
big.
seemed like a monster.
About this big, that was its head. I don't know the length of it because I'm just in fight or flight. We found out after it was about 6 feet in length, I think it was.
Bull sharks typically are about 6 to 8 feet. They weigh up to 1,500 pounds, and they have about 150 teeth that are serrated like a knife.
They're like saws, aren't they?
They are.
They're and this kind of shark is unbelievably brutal.
Yeah. Very aggressive.
Nicole did not tell you, but when it bit into her thigh, it took out a 15-inch section, which included 2 quadriceps and 2 hamstring muscles. And she today, on her femur, the largest bone in the human body, she has marks from the teeth of the shark.
It's incredible. You're happy. You function amazingly.
Yeah,
you just
continue with my life.
Gorgeous.
Move
Beautiful.
forward. Thank you.
Now, did you have a special team bring you back to Sunnybrook? Because I imagine transporting you would have made everybody very nervous in the condition you were in. I'm sure you couldn't get out of there quick enough.
I was not fast enough, And it was 2 advanced care paramedics and 2 flight staff that were there, and it was on a jet ICU, so it's a mobile ICU that's on a Learjet, which is really cool. And they brought me back to Toronto, and they have everything that they need for instances like this. I really trust them. They were great.
So they brought you back into Toronto, obviously, and you started getting top quality care.
Finally.
Part of it being probably correcting some of the things that
I think when people go on holiday, now which blows my mind, you just came back from holiday, right? And me too. Yeah. And it's funny because when we knew we were going to interview you, the first thing I said, we went to St. Lucia, and the first thing I said to the cab driver there, well, what's your facilities like for medical? Well, not very good.
Well, it's honest anyway.
He was honest, that's
Don't
right.
get sick.
I stayed in the pool a lot. You do.
You can have accidents in the pool too, though.
I
You
know,
never
but
know.
what happened to you all of a sudden I'm like very nervous to go in. And Doug loved me because I was all snuggled up to him because if something was coming, I was going to kind of turn him.
Catherine, may I tell you, statistically, you are more likely to be struck by a bolt of lightning than you are to be attacked by a shark.
Thanks, Peter.
And have you been hit by lightning recently?
No, not this one.
Nick, you have another stat. That's
well, it's kind of mind blowing, actually. It's not so. But we don't think to say to ourselves, well, hold on a second, what's your medical facility like when we go on holiday? And it's funny that it's all coming up because a guy in front of his brother, something had happened to him. I don't know if it was like very ill anyway when they got there, when they landed. And they too had to rush him to get him the heck out of there, because the facilities there were just so brutal.
well, interestingly enough, and we talk about this in the book, Shark
Oh,
Assault.
can I hold up the
Why
book?
don't you
Hold up the book.
Let Catherine hold up the book, because you know it's my favorite
black and
part.
white, thing.
I was actually going to kick everybody out so Catherine could read it.
But in the book, we talk about Hospitem, which is the hospital that Nicole went to.
Right.
It's if you read their website, you would swear you're looking at the Mayo Clinic. It's a Spanish outfit from Spain. They have a number of hospitals, and they talk about the first-class facilities, top-notch surgeons, top-notch facilities, and that kind of stuff. Didn't happen, unfortunately. As Nicole said, when she got back to Sunnybrook and they opened up the wounds, there's salt water and sand coming out of these wounds. I mean,
Yeah, because you wouldn't,
You know what, and probably most people wouldn't know that, but you're an RN.
Right.
So you know about
started to
infection control and universal precautions and cleanliness and bandage changing and blood
But you have to
volumes
think too,
and-
like
wow.
you would still be in shock though too, but to be able to think,
At
even
that
when you're in
time.
that kind of pain and that
I
kind of
was.
agony, to be able to wrap your head around, okay, this is not working, there's something wrong, that blows me away. Because most people would just succumb to it. You would just be so exhausted.
I disagree. I tell people you have that inner strength that I am just, Peter doesn't like this, but I am just an average person. Before this, I was an average person living my average life.
Yeah.
And I was just forced to face a really bad situation, and I survived. And I tell everyone, you have it in you to survive. When you're put in that situation, you never know. And I think
You don't know how strong
most
you are.
people, exactly, you
Yeah.
don't know how strong you are until
Yeah.
being strong is the only choice you have, is the famous quote, right?
Yeah.
we have a little friendly disagreement here because she thinks of herself as being so average.
I'm not.
And
And I understand
absolutely not.
that the message is, and we both agreed with this when we started on the book, that we want to inspire people. But as a friend of mine said, if Nicole's the new average, there are millions of us out here who are screwed.
And on those fine words, we're going
Okay.
to take a quick break and we'll be right back with
More
more
to
with
come.
Nicole and Peter.
Yeah, thanks.
And welcome back. I'm Tammy.
And I'm Catherine.
And
Boy,
this
we're
is
being
Up
so
and
good
Coming,
again. What's
and this
going
is Up
on?
and Coming on Rogers. We have two great guests here.
I know. I can hardly, you know what? I just sit there and go like this because I can't even believe it.
This is a tale.
I know, but my stomach's like, oh.
Is
When
it?
you're yeah.
I
when
thought that was
Nicole's
me you were
telling me.
accusing
No,
that of.
that's your stomach. It does it
Anyway,
all the
welcome
time.
back, Nicole and Peter. We're so glad that you could make some time to be with us here today
Oh,
because
love,
you have this new book that's come out, Shark Assault.
Am I showing
you wanna-
this? I don't even
Yep.
know. Can
Yep.
Can anybody get it?
Yep.
Can we get this? Because
Okay.
I'm going to the store to get it after we're done, just so that you know.
We should
cannot
ask
wait.
too. Well,
Yeah.
where can we get this for people that want to pick up a
Yeah.
copy or buy it as a gift?
It's available in bookstores. It's online,
Kindle?
Amazon, Kindle.
Ah,
We have a
awesome.
Kindle version, Barnes and Noble, Indigo Chapters. It's
Yeah.
Orangeville.
Wonderful,
Book Lore,
wonderful.
Nancy Frater has
Yep.
the book. Yeah.
Terrific, terrific.
Yep.
So when we left our story last, you were back in Canada. You were getting the care that you needed. How long were you in Sunnybrook recuperating?
Total's about 2 months. About 2 months.
I bet you that seemed like a long time.
Oh, like an eternity. And
Okay.
I was actually supposed to be there much longer, but I was really stubborn.
That's not a bad
really stubborn to get, do everything I needed to do to get
And
it
she
there.
was back, we should just mention, in March of this year, having yet another operation.
Oh, I'm sure
I
that's
finished
ongoing. Huh?
my final operation this year.
Yay!
But that's
Congratulations.
a full 4 years,
Yeah.
4.5 years after.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
after the event.
When you see, when they show you TV and all the when it first happens, people forget what happens after.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Because you go into the background, but you're so awesome because you brought everything forward. You're telling people what's happening, what's doing, and how you come up with all the crazy positivity in you is amazing to me. Because, like I said, Peter was right. You think you're just being an average person, but not a chance.
But Catherine, that indeed is why we called the book Shark Assault.
Yes.
Because Nicole and I discussed this. We had a number of different names.
Sure.
Shark Attack obviously was one, but a shark attack is kind of a moment in time, whereas this has impacted her life.
And everyone
in
around her.
so many different ways, and everybody around her. It really has assaulted her life.
Yeah.
Well, and when I originally started talking to you about coming on to the show and being here, I was thinking it's about that shark attack, right? That time, that recovery period afterwards to where we are now. But it really is more of a story about success and triumph over something that really could have broken a lot of people.
Well, that's
right?
what I mean.
And I think it's a
family's
tremendous
true, sure.
story
And when
about
it's
overcoming that.
Yeah, because
right?
I think
Those
a lot
obstacles.
of people, they even just the very bad illnesses, like me, cancer. You can sit down to it and you can be coddled and you can just let it go and then you think you're okay, or you don't. You just you stand up to it and say no. Like I want to live my life and let's see what we can do.
So
Both Nicole and I have been thrilled over the last few weeks to have people come up to us, email us, phone us, whatever, and talk about how the book is inspiring them.
Oh,
Because the
helping
first
them
part
get
of it's
Incredible.
about a shark attack.
Sure.
But the rest of it's all about this lady and how she, you don't like the I word, inspires, but she does inspire.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
well, I know locally I have seen you speak, as I said, at some different occasions, some different events that way.
yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, what you've been doing? Because I think you have a gift for motivational speaking.
Thank you.
And
Jeez,
it's
it may
wonderful
never have
hearing
come
your
out
story.
due to this. It's true,
Exactly.
right? Wouldn't it maybe it never
There
happened?
you go.
It's funny how bad things come out of, or good things come out of bad
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
Motivational speaking kind of found me when a few people were saying, would you like to come tell your story at this group, etc. But it has grown. It's been so successful that I now have an agent out of Vancouver, Keynote Speakers of Canada, who now represents me. And
That's incredible.
yeah, so now I go around wherever I can. I've been through the U.S. and Canada to tell my story. And we have now this book. It's great. I'm back to work at the hospital.
Fantastic.
In a different role, which
Well,
I
that's what I was
never
gonna
saw
say.
myself in, but
Wow.
there's yet a new opportunity. So I'm in a supervisor role now.
So when you think doors close, windows open,
Yep.
right? So
Absolutely.
Indeed, one of the presentations that Nicole was doing a few years ago, there was a friend of mine who was there, went up to her afterwards and said, you got to write a book about this. And Nicole said, well, I don't really know anything about writing and publishing. And she happens to have dyslexia, which makes it a little difficult. And my friend Sharon said, well, I've got a friend who's an author. I think the two of you would click. Why don't you talk? And this book is the result.
So we did.
How long did it take you to write this?
We've been working on it for 3 years. Yeah, a lifetime.
Forever.
There's a lot of, obviously, many interviews with Nicole.
Sure.
But I talked to her husband, her father, her children, people who went on the trip with her, people down in Mexico, the manager of the hotel, that kind of thing. I talked to international shark experts from around the world. Wendy Benchley, widow of Peter Benchley.
Peter
who wrote
Benchley,
Jaws.
yes.
I talked to her, So it takes a long time. You have to gather up all the information, and then you start creating a book out of it.
You got to take all the facts. And I just wanted to say too, you might want to mention there are some crazy pictures in here.
That we're not going to show you right
I
now.
will not
Buy the
know.
book, you'll get to see
Yeah,
but
and
they're real
The
pictures.
shark bite
Oh,
photos.
if that just holds you right there. If nothing else, it blows my mind.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it's so bad that you have to look. It's just really,
It is. It is.
It is. You do
Absolutely.
do that too. It's
Well,
absolutely
it does.
something.
Those photos drive home how lucky you are to be alive, because
Yeah.
you see the
'Cause you
pieces
don't know.
of
You don't
her
understand
body
it,
that
right?
were
It's
taken by the
catastrophic.
shark.
I can't
Yeah, I can't even
even
imagine.
imagine that somebody
But I
survived that.
must tell you, the shark apparently was somewhat discerning, because this 15-inch section of her thigh that it took away, after she was taken to the hospital, the manager of the hotel standing there sees something in the water, and the shark had spat it out. So they quickly put it in a bag with ice and sent it to the hospital.
Okay.
The piece that was bit off there, yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything with that, could they?
It offends
They
me.
tried.
I usually joke that I was just so good he had to have 2 bites, but then he spit one out. So.
I was going to make an ass implant, but I won't do that anyway. Anyway, so it's funny. I was watching Fifth Estate one morning. We're super early risers at my house, so we're having coffee and we're watching on a Sunday morning or something, and it's about vacations gone crazy or this, and they had all these different things. Yes, and I said to Ken, you know who they ought to have on there? I know this girl Nicole from Orangeville, and instantly it came up. And he went, her? And we sat there and we watched the whole story.
Glued. You get glued.
It was,
things,
and they certainly, I think, probably seeing it like that, you were catching different details and everything, and just the visuals, the beauty of the resort, and how peaceful it looks. And of course, this time of year, at this moment, is when people are making those plans to go away.
Oh, of course.
So it's so
that's
timely.
What I was saying too, and it's just amazing that you're calling it almost like a hiccup for you, because then you're heading right back out with your family. You're going back to do holidays and retreats.
Talk about those, yes.
That show was actually my first time. It was still in 2011, so it was the exact same year. It was the first time that I went back to Mexico, and they filmed that. It was the first time. It was right at the scene of the attack, and I went right back into the water. Granted, the hotel had a whole bunch of security, making sure there were no sharks there. But exhilarating. It was very emotional for me, but exhilarating.
But for your family too, it had to be.
They didn't come that time. I went on my own, or with Ken, who was one of the guys on the trip there, and I had to go to make sure that I wasn't harboring any fear. I had done so well up until this point that I thought there's got to be something, and I just had to make sure that I was okay with it and make my peace with it, and to show my children that. Even though life is tough, you can face things and continue to go on. Yeah. And it was fantastic. So I brought them a couple of months later, and we went back, and my kids went back in the water, and my husband, just so that they're not afraid either. Yeah. And that's one of the main things in this book. I don't want this book to incite any fear at all about swimming or going in the water. It's so rare. And of all things, I was waist deep. No one ever expects that.
And it's funny, too, because when we were in St. Lucia, that's just as high as we usually go, because it's like you said, you're just going in to cool off a little bit or whatever, Yeah,
it's so rare.
Yeah.
And I really don't want people to be afraid of it.
Did you hear that? It's so rare.
Instead, I want people to be inspired to live your life. I mean, it's more dangerous crossing a street, and you still cross streets. So live your life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Listen to Tammy
Wow.
Now, statistically, you have some numbers for us when it comes to males to females here. Listen up, boys.
The statistics is you have a 1 in 11.5 million chance of being attacked by a shark, surviving it, and the odds are even greater. But since they've been keeping statistics in the 1850s, over 90% of those attacks that are documented are on males. So,
which I find very bizarre.
I'm really rare. I survived,
you are really
and
rare.
I'm a woman that survived.
Holy cow!
So I took one for the team. That's what I joke. I
like
took one for the ladies.
So
go in the water. Don't be
you're all good to go.
Now, something just popped into my head too. Have you been contacted, or have you contacted other people who have been through this?
I am actually part of a shark survivor group online.
Because I'm thinking of the young girl. Was it California?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
You're thinking of the boy and the girl that lost their arm last summer?
Yeah, but there was another girl that was actually a surfer, wasn't there?
Yeah.
The soul surfer?
Yes.
Sorry.
So you've spoken to them, or they've
I've never spoken to
you?
Bethany Hamilton. She's on this shark survivor group, but I've never spoken to her, only online. There's quite a number of us, and we're a fantastic support group for each other because we can relate. The only thing that's really difficult with that group is, as you can imagine, a lot of them are very angry at sharks. They hold a lot of post-traumatic stress because of the attack, whereas I'm doing fairly well, and I choose to use my voice to speak on behalf of sharks and shark conservation and protecting them. So we have a difference of opinion, which I respect both. I understand both completely, but
it frees you.
That's
It
right.
frees
You've
me.
moved on, and you've
Yeah,
moved on to
it
something
frees you.
better.
They've
right?
moved on as well, but they've just moved on with a different direction, and
Yeah. And
I don't
everybody's
live by the
entitled to their
ocean.
own,
I
right?
don't live by the ocean, so I don't have to face it every day. A lot
That's
of these
true.
people are surfers, and they're back in the water with the
Wow.
fear, so I don't face it every
Wow.
day. But
Yeah, it's crazy.
yes, I do talk to quite a few of them.
Wow.
You don't
So-
want to know what the annual dues are for this club.
It's a tough initiation.
Yeah, I bet. But once you're in for life.
You're in,
There you
yeah.
go.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left. Any other words that you want to leave with us, or things that you want to mention before
Positive tips when they're
before
all
you
on
catch
holiday.
on?
Positive tips.
Well, I can tell
Couple
you a
of
couple of
things here.
things. Again, if you're an ocean swimmer, and I am,
Me too.
don't eschew the ocean. I mean, the chances of something like this happening is so rare. But there are a couple of things you want to watch out for.
Yeah.
Don't go swimming in the ocean at dawn or at dusk. That's when sharks tend to feed. That's
Okay.
when they come in
Well,
closer.
that's good advice.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere near where people are cleaning fish. You know, fishermen and that
All
kind
the
of thing.
blood and the-
Because,
mhm.
Exactly. That's what the sharks come in for. So there are things like that to just be wary of.
Where fresh water meets ocean water, where rivers are, that's a mecca, because there's a whole bunch of abundant fish life that meets up there to
Right.
feed.
And they go to where the
Right.
food
Sharks
is,
go
right?
to
There,
that,
which was
right.
close to where I was. There was a fresh water and an ocean.
In fact,
water.
if you go on sharkassault.com, that is our website. We have a
Yeah.
whole slew of
Oh,
tips. There's a page
beautiful.
Wonderful.
set up for
Yeah.
those
And
of
the-
you who are going to the Caribbean or Florida.
And the last piece of advice that I have is I'm not a pro insurance person at all, but please, travel insurance does make a difference. Because you
Oh,
don't expect
yeah,
things to
thank
go wrong, but when they go wrong, you
Yeah,
need
you
them.
gotta be
so
ready
you've
for
got
sure.
to plan
That's
for the
great.
worst, but expect the best.
There you
Wonderful.
go.
Well,
and
thank
you had
you.
everything documented too, didn't you?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
on.
Oh my
We have
gosh.
so enjoyed.
Yep.
I'm going to hold it up this time. Here's our wonderful book.
right.
Pick up a copy. You will not be able to put it down when you
No,
start reading it.
agreed.
And better yet, it's about somebody local, so you can certainly reach out to Nicole. I'm sure you've got Twitter and Facebook feeds as well too that people can contact you through. But it's just really an
Fantastic.
amazing story. So
Yeah.
thanks again
And
for
you're
coming.
amazing.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Kathy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having us.
much.
Love
Thanks,
having you
Tim.
both.
Thanks, Peter.
Catherine,
Appreciate it.
Thank you very
thanks so
much.
much. It's been fun.